The wooden vessel, Seraphim, rocked gently in the docking bay of Earth's orbital port, its wooden hull, polished and bright even under the harsh white light of the port, looked out of place among the sleek metal ships that glimmered like stars. Yet, for those who knew it, the Seraphim had a warmth that no metallic ship could offer. Its decks carried memories, laughter, and the faint scent of fresh bread. A human touch, preserved even in the cold vacuum of space. Captain Alara moved along the narrow corridor, her boots making soft thuds against the wooden planks. She had spent most of her life navigating ships, but this one was different. It was more than a vessel. It was a home, a protector of families traveling across the stars. Today, she walked past cabins where children had already begun to chatter, their voices small but lively, bouncing from walls lined with wooden beams. Some of the children pressed their faces against the windows, peering at the port below, watching other ships launch with a controlled fury of fire and metal. Ilara paused outside the dining hall. The smell of fresh bread and roasting vegetables floated through the air, carried by the ship's bioengine ventilation. She smiled faintly. Even now, preparing for another journey, the crew and the cooks maintained a small sanctuary of human comfort. In space, every little piece of Earth mattered: the scent of warm meals, the soft creak of wooden planks, the laughter of children. They were small reminders that humans were not just travelers, but beings with a heart and soul. The boarding announcement echoed through the ship. Families moved toward their cabins, passengers adjusting personal belongings and securing crates of supplies. The Seraphim was scheduled for a long journey to Oriv, a growing agricultural colony on the edge of known space. It was a routine trip, though the distance was great. Yet, something in the air felt different, a whisper of tension that Alara could not ignore. The sky above the port darkened with a sudden cluster of storm clouds, unusual for orbital space. Meteoroid storms were common, but these clouds carried a subtle shimmer, like a prelude to something larger. Ilara, called First Officer Tavin, stepping into the corridor. All systems report ready. The crew is aboard, and the AI is running final checks. But I don't like the look of those clouds. They aren't normal. Ilara nodded, her eyes narrowing. I see them. Let's hope it's just a local anomaly. We have a schedule to keep. She did not say it aloud, but a tiny part of her mind prepared for uncertainty. Space, even in known sectors, had a way of reminding humans that they were never truly in control. The vessel's engines hummed as they powered up. Wooden panels vibrated with energy, a soft resonance that made the Seraphim feel alive. Its AI, named Leora, adjusted interior temperatures and lighting. Children's rooms were bathed in warm amber light, and the scent of simmering stew began to fill corridors. Even as the ship prepared to leave, it seemed to embrace the families, wrapping them in familiarity. The departure was smooth at first. Earth's orbit faded beneath them, and the vastness of space stretched ahead. The stars shone like scattered diamonds against the black, infinite canvas. Ilara stood at the bridge, hands resting on the wooden rail, feeling the subtle pulse of the ship. She thought about the journey ahead, the familiar charts, the safe corridors, the simple joy of reaching Oriv. And yet, a quiet unease lingered. The first signs came when sensors detected unusual gravitational fluctuations. Asteroids drifted where no maps indicated, and distant lights shimmered with unfamiliar colors. Leora's voice, calm and melodic, filled the bridge. Captain, course deviation detected. External anomalies present. Recommendation: minor adjustments to navigation. Ilara frowned. Show me the readings. The holographic screen illuminated the bridge with ghostly blue projections. Strange clouds of energy swirled in the distance, reflecting light like a liquid prism. Even seasoned navigators could not immediately identify the phenomenon. Tavin glanced at the projections, unease crossing his face. Those aren't meteoroids or typical energy storms, he said. It's something else. Ilara kept her calm. Prepare to navigate around it. Keep the children safe. Alert the crew. She understood the importance of maintaining composure. Panic was far more dangerous than any cosmic storm. As the Seraphim approached the shimmering anomaly, the first wave of the storm struck. Wooden panels shivered under the stress, and alarms blared softly. Leora's voice remained steady. Hull. Integrity within acceptable parameters. Adjusting shields. External energy readings rising. Lightning-like bursts of cosmic energy danced across the ship's sensors, striking near the hull. The vessel rocked, thrown by forces unseen. Crew members braced themselves, holding onto railings as the dining hall tables rattled. A few children cried, frightened by the sudden motion, and cooks struggled to stabilize pots of simmering food. Alara gritted her teeth. Steady. We have faced storms before. Focus on control. Yet this storm was unlike any other. Waves of energy passed through space like invisible hands, tugging at the wooden hull, testing its strength. Lights flickered, and the soft warmth of the ship seemed to battle against the cold fury outside. The Seraphim was alive in its own way, responding to the storm with subtle shudders and creaks, resisting the chaos around it. Hours passed like minutes, and the storm did not relent. The crew, exhausted but resolute, worked together to keep the vessel steady. Wooden panels were reinforced with emergency bioresin, engines adjusted to counter sudden pulls, and every resource focused on survival. The children, sensing the crew's determination, slowly calmed, though fear lingered in their eyes. Ilara watched them, her resolve strengthening. Humanity was small in this storm, yet it was unyielding. The storm reached its peak, and the Seraphim shuddered violently. For a terrifying moment, all seemed lost. The hull creaked as though ready to split, and alarms screamed with impossible urgency. Then, as if the storm itself had grown bored, it receded. Cosmic winds calmed, and the shimmering clouds drifted away, leaving the vessel floating in near silence. Ilara exhaled, her hands gripping the rail tightly. Around her, crew and passengers looked shaken but unharmed. Leora's voice broke the silence. Captain, external damage is significant but non-critical. Hull integrity stabilizing. Food reserves intact. Emotional well-being indicators suggest recovery is required. The simple reassurance, the acknowledgement of humanity, brought a sense of calm. The dining hall, still slightly rattled, smelled of stew and bread. Despite the chaos outside, the vessel remained a sanctuary. Families gathered, holding hands and sharing quiet smiles. The warmth of shared meals, the comforting aroma, and the soft glow of lights reminded everyone aboard that they had survived together. Night fell in space, marked not by sunsets but by the gentle dimming of artificial lights. Ilara walked the corridors, checking on the crew, speaking softly with children, and ensuring the vessel was stable. She paused in the dining hall, watching a young girl offer a piece of bread to her frightened brother. The simplicity of the act, in the midst of cosmic fury, struck her. Humanity endured not through engines or shields, but through care, courage, and connection. As the Seraphim drifted further into uncharted space, Ilara gazed at the stars. Beyond the storm lay uncertainty, worlds unknown, and dangers yet to reveal themselves. But the vessel, wooden and alive, carried more than humans and supplies. It carried hope. The warmth of meals, laughter, and memories of home were stronger than any storm. Ilara placed her hand on the wooden rail and whispered, almost to herself, "We will return. No matter how far, no matter how dark, we will bring warmth back with us." Somewhere deep in the hull, Leora hummed softly, as if agreeing. Outside, the stars stretched endlessly, indifferent to human fear. Yet somehow, the vessel and its people seemed to matter. For a small wooden ship, lost in cosmic storms, humanity was its greatest shield, and it was unbroken. The journey ahead promised challenges, unknown perils, and perhaps moments of despair. Yet in that first night after the storm, the vessel, crew, and families shared one quiet truth. Together, they were unstoppable, and on the wooden tables of the dining hall, warm meals waited. ready to remind them that humanity endured, even in the void. The seraphim drifted quietly through the expanse of unknown space. The stars above shone like scattered jewels, distant and cold. Yet the ship carried its own warmth inside. After the storm, the passengers and crew tried to return to a sense of normalcy, but the vast emptiness outside reminded them that they were far from familiar skies. Children played quietly in the corridors, their laughter cautious, yet persistent. Adults whispered in small groups, sharing speculation about the strange clouds and cosmic energy that had threatened them. Captain Alara stood on the bridge, her eyes scanning the instruments. Leora, the ship's AI, had recalibrated the sensors and navigation systems, yet the readings showed unfamiliar phenomena. Gravity waves shifted unpredictably, and energy fluctuations pulsed like heartbeat signals from the void. Alara touched the wooden rail, feeling the subtle hum of the ship as it adjusted to the invisible forces pressing against its hull. She knew that the Seraphim was alive in a way most ships were not. Every plank, every panel, responded to stress, absorbing energy, and protecting the people inside. First, Officer Tavin approached, carrying a tablet filled with maps and projections. "Captain, our course is stable, but the anomalies extend in every direction. Leora suggests several detours, but each carries unknown risks." Alara nodded, her mind calculating. "We cannot rush. The storm tested us once. Let us see what lies ahead carefully. Keep the crew ready, and ensure the passengers are safe." Leora's voice filled the bridge, calm and soothing. "Captain, the children are reacting positively to familiar routines. Simulated aromas and visual stimuli in communal areas are maintaining morale." The AI had adapted, creating virtual reminders of Earth. Baking bread, stirring pots of soup, the gentle scent of herbs. For the crew, it was comforting. For the children, it was a reassurance that home still existed, even millions of miles away. As days passed, the vessel encountered strange phenomena. Clouds of iridescent gas drifted around them, twisting and shimmering like liquid rainbows. They emitted a soft glow, lighting the ship's hull from outside in ethereal colors. The crew could not determine the composition of these clouds. Tavin suggested they were some form of unknown plasma, yet no sensors could confirm it. In the dining hall, families gathered for meals. The table had been restored after the storm, and warm bread and vegetable stew filled bowls. Children dipped pieces of bread, their small hands shaking slightly as they tried to ignore the strange lights flickering outside the windows. Some of the adults glanced nervously at the bridge monitors, yet the communal act of eating together eased tension. The warmth of shared meals was a simple but profound shield against fear. One evening, as the ship floated through a nebula of violet and silver, a strange signal pulsed across the communication arrays. It was faint, almost imperceptible, but it repeated in a slow rhythm. Leora highlighted it on the display. "Captain, an unidentified source emits repeating signals. Pattern resembles coordinated communication, but the origin is unclear." Alara's brow furrowed. "Could it be another vessel?" Tavin shook his head. "Too far. The signal's origin is outside mapped space. It could be natural. Or..." His voice trailed off. "Or something else," Alara finished quietly. There was no need to elaborate. In space, possibilities extended beyond imagination. Humanity had not yet encountered many of the forces that lurked in the uncharted sectors. The crew debated. Some feared the unknown, while others saw opportunity. Alara decided caution was paramount. "Do not respond," she instructed. "Maintain our course. Observe and gather data. We will not take unnecessary risks." Days turned into weeks, and the Seraphim continued to drift, encountering phenomena that challenged every known principle of navigation. Crystalline formations floated in empty space, reflecting starlight in dazzling patterns. Some seemed stationary, others slowly rotated, like celestial wheels. Sensors could not determine mass or composition, yet the ship's wooden hull resonated subtly when they passed near. Leora suggested that the vessel itself reacted to external energy fields, absorbing vibrations in a way that helped stabilize movement. In cabins, the families adjusted to the unusual conditions. The children began to name stars and clouds, creating stories to explain the strange sights outside. One child, a small boy named Aaron, insisted that the nebulae were gardens of space, and that the crystals were flowers floating in the void. Adults smiled at the imagination, yet the metaphor reminded them of human resilience. Even in unknown danger, humans found ways to interpret, to create, to survive. Meals became more than sustenance. They were rituals of hope. Each evening, as the violet glow of distant clouds bathed the dining hall, families sat together. Leora replicated the aroma of fresh bread, vegetables, and roasted meat, adjusting temperatures and textures to maintain familiarity. The simple act of breaking bread together strengthened bonds and reminded them that humanity endured, no matter the vastness outside. One night, while observing the signals from the mysterious source, Tavin noticed something extraordinary. "Captain, the pulses are not random. They form a sequence, a pattern that almost resembles a map." Ilara leaned over, her eyes narrowing. "A map of what?" Tavin pointed to the holographic display. The sequence of pulses corresponded to locations in space, points connected in a way that suggested intentional guidance. "It could be a navigational guide," he said. "Or a warning." Ilara's mind raced. She had faced storms, cosmic anomalies, and unknown forces, yet this was different. It implied intelligence, purpose, and perhaps a consciousness beyond human understanding. Yet she could not ignore the possibility that it was a chance for safe passage, a path through uncharted danger. "Prepare a small observation team," she instructed. "We will monitor and follow the sequence cautiously. Ensure all safety protocols are observed." As the team worked, the Seraphim drifted into a region where the gas clouds thickened. Outside the windows, the colors intensified, forming bands of soft blues, purples, and gold. The wooden hull creaked slightly, responding to subtle energy currents. Leora suggested minor adjustments to stabilize the vessel, but the crew could feel an almost physical connection to the phenomena. It was as if the universe itself was alive, testing them, observing them. Children gathered near the bridge viewing windows, fascinated by the dazzling display. They pressed their small hands to the glass, eyes wide with wonder. "It's beautiful," Aaron whispered. "Like a painting from the stars." Ilara smiled faintly, though her mind remained focused on navigation. "Beautiful. Yes," she said. "But always remember, space is not only beauty. It is full of danger." The next day, a new challenge appeared. Tiny fragments of unknown matter collided with the ship's shields. Harmless yet puzzling. Leora analyzed the material, which shimmered with a rainbow sheen, refracting energy in patterns that made instruments fluctuate. The ship vibrated gently as it passed through the cloud. Crew members held onto railings, but none were hurt. Ilara realized that the vessel itself, wooden and alive in subtle ways, absorbed some of the energy. Unlike metal ships, the Seraphim flexed, breathed, and adapted. It was not invincible, but it was human in its resilience, capable of withstanding storms that would cripple any other ship. At night, after passing through the clouds, families gathered again in the dining hall. The air smelled of roasted vegetables, warm bread, and the soft tang of spiced stew. Children laughed, playing quiet games at the tables, while adults shared stories and observations from the bridge. Even in the uncertainty of unknown space, the ritual of meals created a sanctuary. Ilara walked among them, quietly observing. She noticed a small girl, holding a piece of bread, offering it to a frightened younger boy who had cried earlier. The gesture was simple, yet profound. Humanity survived not through technology alone, but through care, courage, and the ability to share warmth, even in the cold vastness of the universe. Late that night, Ilara returned to the bridge. Leora displayed the sequence of signals once again. "Captain, the pattern continues. Coordinates lead further into uncharted space. Probability of safe navigation is high if followed carefully. Ilara studied the projection. Following this path could lead them home faster, or it could guide them into danger. Yet she felt a quiet certainty. Humanity, aboard the wooden vessel, had survived storms and unknown forces. The ship, the crew, and the families had proven resilient. Perhaps the universe had chosen to guide them, to test them, or simply to observe. "Prepare the course," she said finally. "We follow the sequence, slowly and carefully. Maintain all routines for passengers. Meals, light, and warmth must continue uninterrupted." As the engines hummed and the ship adjusted, Ilara looked once more at the stars. Beyond the immediate dangers, unknown phenomena, and mysterious signals, there was a truth she had always known. Humanity endured, through storms, cosmic wonders, and challenges beyond comprehension. Humans had the courage, creativity, and compassion to survive. Somewhere deep inside the wooden hull, the vessel itself seemed to respond, pulsing with subtle energy, almost as if it understood its mission. Outside, the nebula clouds shimmered softly, and the faint signals continued their rhythmic dance. The Seraphim, lost in space yet guided by determination, moved forward. Families returned to their cabins after the meal, children lulled to sleep by the gentle hum of the ship and the soft glow of the interior lights. Adults lingered in quiet conversation, discussing observations, plans, and dreams. Leora monitored every system, ensuring the ship remained safe, warm, and alive. Ilara remained on the bridge long after others had left. Her hand rested on the wooden rail, feeling the heartbeat of the ship. The signals, the clouds, the unknown forces, none of it diminished hope. Humanity had survived storms before, and it would survive this journey as well. Warm meals on tables, laughter, and the simple acts of care were proof of what humans carried inside them. A spirit, unbroken, resilient, and endlessly adaptable. As the Seraphim drifted deeper into uncharted space, one truth remained clear. No matter what lay ahead, the wooden vessel, its people, and their shared humanity would continue to shine, guiding them through the unknown with warmth, courage, and hope. The Seraphim continued its slow journey through the uncharted regions, following the mysterious signals that had guided them through strange nebulae and crystalline formations. Captain Ilara stood on the bridge, her eyes fixed on the glowing points ahead. Every new reading brought both hope and caution. The unknown space was beautiful, full of colors and lights that defied imagination. Yet it remained unpredictable, a reminder that humanity was small in the vast universe. First Officer Taven walked up beside her. "Captain, sensors show a dense field ahead. It could be debris from a stellar event or an uncharted asteroid belt. Leora recommends careful navigation." Ilara nodded. "Keep shields at maximum and engines ready for sudden maneuvers. Slow and steady. We cannot afford another storm like before." The crew moved efficiently, checking instruments, adjusting course, and securing cargo. Children peeked out of the corridors, their small faces pressed against reinforced windows, curious but cautious. Even after weeks of drifting, the unknown had not lost its awe. It was a lesson in humility, a reminder that space was magnificent but indifferent. Inside the dining hall, the aroma of warm meals continued to fill the air. The simple act of gathering for food had become a daily ritual, something that kept fear at bay. Leora maintained these routines with precision, adjusting lights, smells, and temperature to create comfort. Families shared meals in quiet conversation, recounting memories of Earth or imagining the worlds they would see. One evening, as the ship passed near a faintly glowing asteroid cluster, Taven reported a surprise. "Captain, some of the asteroids emit faint energy signatures. They are not dangerous, but unusual. Leora suggests we scan them. They could provide valuable resources." Ilara leaned forward. "Do it carefully. We cannot risk hull damage. If these energy signatures can help us, we take advantage, But safety comes first. As the crew scanned the asteroids, they discovered that the energy fields carried rare elements, almost like a gift from the unknown universe. Engineers used the opportunity to recharge some of the ship's energy reserves. The wooden hull, reinforced with bioresin, absorbed subtle vibrations from the fields, making navigation smoother. For the crew, it was a small victory, a reminder that even in the unknown, humanity could adapt and find opportunity. Meanwhile, the signal that had guided them all this way remained steady. It seemed almost intentional, leading them gradually toward known space. Some crew members speculated about its source, an alien intelligence, a natural phenomenon, or perhaps something that simply existed to test travelers. Ilara did not speculate aloud. Instead, she focused on navigation, trusting that cautious observation and human ingenuity would carry them through. Children continued to give meaning to their surroundings. Aaron, the small boy who had once called the nebulae gardens of space, now sketched maps of stars and asteroids, adding imaginary creatures and civilizations. His drawings, taped to the walls of the dining hall, reminded the adults of human creativity and resilience. Even in the midst of uncertainty, humanity could imagine, hope, and create. Weeks passed, and the Seraphim drew closer to the familiar star systems that marked the edge of known space. With each passing day, the crew noticed subtle changes. Stellar light became brighter and more consistent. Gravitational readings returned to patterns they recognized. Even the ship's hull seemed to respond differently, flexing less under the forces of the unknown. It was as if the universe was acknowledging their perseverance, opening a path toward home. However, new challenges emerged. One morning, the ship encountered a dense cloud of space dust, glowing faintly under the light of distant stars. It clung to the hull, interfering with sensors and slowing the vessel. Crew members worked tirelessly to clear the debris, using a combination of manual tools and Leora's automated drones. Wooden panels groaned under the strain, but the Seraphim endured. Ilara walked through the corridors afterward, checking on the crew and passengers. "We are nearly out of the unknown," she said softly, more to herself than anyone else. "Stay alert. Do not let our guard down now." Families continued to gather for meals, their rituals unchanged. Warm bread, roasted vegetables, and simple soups filled the tables, creating a sense of continuity and safety. Children laughed and shared stories, while adults spoke in quiet tones about the journey, their experiences, and the strange beauty they had witnessed. In every gesture, every shared bite of food, humanity asserted itself against the vast indifference of space. As the Seraphim approached the edge of known space, sensors picked up faint signs of life on a nearby planet. The readings were minimal, small energy fluctuations and minor atmospheric movement, but enough to intrigue the crew. "Captain," Tavin said, pointing at the display, "these could be signs of microbial life, or even small colonies. Nothing confirmed, but it's worth noting." Ilara nodded. "Maintain course, but mark the coordinates. We cannot afford detours. Our priority is to return safely." Yet, curiosity lingered. Crew members whispered quietly about the possibility of encountering life, imagining the lessons they could learn and the challenges it might present. The human mind, ever inquisitive, could not ignore the unknown, even when survival was at stake. One night, as the vessel drifted near the outer planets of a familiar star system, Leora reported a significant discovery. "Captain, food reserves and water storage remain stable. Some ingredients preserved during the storm weeks ago are still viable. This will allow the crew to prepare more diverse meals for passengers, reinforcing morale." Ilara smiled faintly. "Prepare the dining hall. Ensure everyone can gather for a proper meal. After all we've been through, a warm table is as important as any shield or engine." That evening, the dining hall became a haven of celebration. Families sat together, sharing stories, laughter, and quiet relief. The aroma of roasting vegetables and fresh bread filled the corridors. Even the children, who had grown accustomed to uncertainty, felt the comfort of routine and warmth. In those moments, the small wooden vessel carried more than supplies. It carried hope, courage, and the enduring spirit of humanity. As the night wore on, Ilara returned to the bridge, observing the stars with a mix of caution and quiet wonder. The signals that had guided them through uncharted space remained faint but steady, fading as they approached known sectors. "We made it this far," she murmured. "Nearly home, but not yet. Stay ready." The following days tested them further. Minor mechanical issues arose from the prolonged stress on the wooden hull. Crew members worked in shifts, repairing engines, adjusting shields, and monitoring energy flows. Despite exhaustion, they persevered. Every repaired panel, every stabilized system, was a testament to human ingenuity and determination. During one routine observation, Arin approached Ilara, holding a small drawing of the Seraphim surrounded by stars and glowing clouds. "Captain," he said shyly, "I drew the ship. It looks like it's smiling." Ilara took the drawing, smiling warmly. "It does, Arin. That's because it carries brave people who never gave up." As they drew closer to fully known space, signals from Oriv, their destination colony, began to appear faintly in the communication array. Though still weak, they carried the promise of connection. Crew members and passengers felt a surge of excitement. The end of the journey was near. Home, with its familiar skies, friends, and family, awaited them. Even in the final stretch, the vessel encountered minor anomalies, flashes of unknown energy, drifting debris, and faint gravitational ripples, but each was met with calm determination. The wooden hull, alive in subtle ways, absorbed shocks and vibrations. The crew, guided by experience and intuition, adjusted the ship's path. Children and families continued their meals, laughter returning in bursts of joy. Warm tables, steady routines, and the soft glow of lights became anchors, reminding everyone that they had survived together. One night, as Ilara stood on the bridge alone, she allowed herself a rare moment of reflection. The journey had tested everything: storms, unknown forces, mysterious signals, but humanity had endured. Creativity, courage, and compassion had carried them through. And the simple acts of shared meals and care had preserved morale and spirit. Even the vessel itself, wooden and living in subtle ways, had survived and adapted, a testament to human ingenuity. She whispered quietly, almost to herself, "We are almost home. Whatever lies ahead, we will face it together." Humanity survives because we care, because we endure, and because we refuse to surrender. The stars stretched endlessly outside, indifferent to human trials, yet the Seraphim moved steadily forward. Families slept peacefully, children dreaming of adventures yet to come. Crew members kept watch, alert, and ready. And at the tables of the dining hall, warm meals waited, a promise that no matter the vastness of space, humanity could carry home within them. As dawn approached on Oriv's distant horizon, the vessel's sensors picked up the first clear signs of the colony structures rising like small islands, lights twinkling against the dark landscape, and the faint sounds of human life. Excitement rippled through the crew and passengers. Weeks of uncertainty, fear, and perseverance had led to this moment. Ilara felt a quiet pride as she looked at her crew and families. "We have endured," she said softly. "We have survived. And now, we return. With warmth, with courage, and with hope." The Seraphim, battered yet unbroken, moved steadily toward Oriv, carrying humanity's finest qualities: ingenuity, resilience, and the unyielding belief that no matter the storms of the universe, humans could survive and thrive together. The Seraphim glided through the final stretch of space toward Oriv. Familiar stars appeared in the distance, guiding them like old friends. The crew worked with quiet focus, adjusting shields and engines for the final approach. Every member aboard felt the tension of anticipation, the nervous excitement of returning home after weeks lost in uncharted space. Families whispered among themselves, sharing memories of Earth and imagining the friends and neighbors who awaited them. Captain Ilara stood on the bridge, her hands resting on the wooden rail. The warmth of the vessel beneath her palms was comforting, a subtle reminder that the ship itself had survived alongside them. She glanced at the monitors, showing the faint outline of Oriv's orbital port. The colony was alive with activity. Small lights flickered across the surface, and the gentle hum of machines signaled life. Humanity awaited them, and after so long, the thought filled her with relief. First Officer Tavin approached, his usual calm tempered with excitement. "Captain, the port is clear. Traffic is minimal. We can dock without complications. Everyone aboard is reporting readiness." Ilara nodded, her gaze fixed on the distant colony. "Prepare the landing sequence. Ensure all systems are stable. And check the dining hall meals must be ready for everyone. After what we've endured, they deserve warmth and comfort as soon as we arrive." Leora's voice filled the bridge, calm and melodic. "Captain, preparations are underway. The dining hall is ready. Meals are hot, and tables are arranged for communal gatherings. Emotional support protocols are active to ease re-entry stress." The thought brought a faint smile to Ilara's face. Even after cosmic storms, strange signals, and weeks of uncertainty, humanity's small comforts, meals, warmth, togetherness, remained steadfast. It was these simple acts that had kept hope alive, and they would mark the celebration of their return. As the Seraphim descended into Oriv's orbital path, crew members secured equipment and double-checked systems. Wooden planks creaked gently, absorbing the subtle vibrations of the ship's engines. Children peered out of windows, wide-eyed at the planet below. Some had never seen Oriv in person. They had only imagined it through stories, charts, and the tales of those who had traveled before. One child, Aaron, pressed his face against the glass, pointing at a cluster of lights. "Look! The city! It's just like I imagined." Ilara knelt beside him, placing a hand gently on his shoulder. "Yes, Aaron. And soon, you will walk among those lights, see the people, and taste the warmth of home again." The descent continued smoothly. Yet subtle dangers lingered. Small meteorites drifted through the atmosphere, and sensors detected minor gravitational turbulence. The crew adjusted shields and engines, navigating carefully. The Seraphim, wooden and alive in subtle ways, responded with quiet resilience. Every creak and vibration was a reminder that the vessel had endured the vast unknown, carrying humans and their spirits safely. Finally, the docking sequence began. Clamps engaged, stabilizing the ship. The engines hummed softly as the wooden hull rested securely against the port. A hush fell over the vessel. Crew and passengers held their breath, waiting for the moment when the long journey would truly end. Then, the docking lights confirmed stability. Oriv's port officers signaled approval. A collective cheer erupted across the Seraphim. Children laughed and hugged parents. Crew members exchanged quiet congratulations, and Ilara allowed herself a deep exhale. Humanity had survived the storms, the unknown, and the trials of deep space. They were home. The hatch opened, and the first humans stepped onto Oriv's soil, their boots pressing against the familiar surface with a mixture of awe and relief. Families followed, holding hands, their faces bright with joy. The warm air of the colony carried the sense of earth-inspired agriculture, herbs, baked bread, and fresh water. It was subtle, yet deeply comforting after the sterile environment of space. Ilara remained at the ship's entrance, greeting crew members and passengers as they disembarked. She noticed a small group of children running toward a field of flowers, their laughter ringing like music. Adults followed, some crying quietly, overwhelmed by the return to normalcy. The dining hall aboard the Seraphim became a central gathering place even on Oriv. Tables were set with meals prepared both before departure and during the journey, supplemented by the fresh produce of the colony. Families and crew gathered to eat together, celebrating survival, resilience, and the bonds that had carried them through the void. Warm bread, roasted vegetables, and hearty stews filled bowls, and every bite was a reminder of comfort and continuity. Captain Ilara walked among them, observing quietly. Crew members shared stories of their experiences. Children recounted their imaginative adventures among nebulae and stars. And parents marveled at the ingenuity and courage that had kept them safe. Leora monitored the emotional well-being of passengers, ensuring that the transition from space to home was gentle and reassuring. In one corner, Aaron offered a piece of bread to his younger sibling, a gesture repeated countless times throughout the journey. It was simple, yet profound. Humanity's strength had always been in small acts of care, courage, and connection. The ship had carried them through storms, unknown signals, and cosmic beauty. But it was their shared humanity that had preserved hope and spirit. Ilara finally allowed herself to sit at a table, quietly observing. Around her, people ate, laughed, and shared stories. The journey had changed them all. The children were braver, the adults more resilient, and the crew wiser. Yet despite the trials, the simple comforts of home, of meals shared together, anchored them. As night fell on Oriv, the colony lights glimmered like scattered stars across the landscape. The Seraphim rested in the port, its wooden hull battered yet intact. The vessel had survived cosmic storms, unknown energy fields, and weeks of uncertainty. It had carried humans not only through space, but through fear, doubt, and hope, nurturing them with warmth, routine, and care. Ilara stepped outside, breathing the cool night air. The stars above shone brightly, yet the lights of Oriv drew her gaze. She thought of the journey, the storms, the mysterious signals, and the beauty of unknown space. And yet, it was here, in the simple acts of home meals shared, laughter, gentle care, that humanity's true strength shone brightest. Crew members gathered nearby, exchanging quiet congratulations. Taven approached, placing a hand on her shoulder. "We made it," he said simply. "All of us." Ilara nodded, feeling a deep sense of gratitude. "Yes. Together, we survived. And together, we returned. Humanity is more than skill or technology. It is courage, compassion, and care. We proved that. Every day, families continued to share meals into the night. Children told stories of the stars, of nebulae and crystalline formations, of signals and guidance. Adults listened, laughing, and sharing their own memories. The wooden tables of the Seraphim, once suspended in the void of space, now stood on Oriv, a symbol of warmth, endurance, and the enduring human spirit. In the quiet moments, Ilara returned to the bridge one last time. The stars outside were familiar now, and the sensors confirmed stability throughout the ship. The mysterious signals that had guided them faded, their purpose fulfilled. Leora hummed softly, monitoring systems, maintaining a quiet presence. The vessel had survived and adapted, just as its people had. Ilara rested her hand on the wooden rail, feeling the subtle vibrations of the hull. "We carried humanity with us," she whispered, "through storms, unknown wonders, and darkness. And now, we bring it home." The Seraphim, a vessel once lost in storms and drifting in the unknown, had returned with warmth on its tables, laughter in its halls, and humans at its heart. It was more than a ship, it was a testament to human ingenuity, resilience, and the small, enduring acts of care that define them. Outside, Oriv glimmered, alive with human life. Families walked hand in hand, children played in fields, and the scent of fresh bread and herbs filled the air. The journey had ended, yet its lessons would remain. Humans endured because they cared, because they created warmth, and because together, they could face anything the universe sent their way. Captain Ilara looked around the bustling port one last time. The Seraphim rested, wooden and proud, a symbol of survival and hope. The ship's crew, passengers, and families gathered nearby, sharing food and stories. And in the midst of it all, the simple truth shone brightest. Humanity, resilient and caring, would always find a way home.